Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We will allow just a couple of more minutes for more people to just join in and settle down, and then we will begin. Thank you. Maybe about another minute, and then we will begin. All right. We shall begin now. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Good morning, good afternoon, and a happy new year. This is our first master class of the year 2026. So, great occasion. And of course, today we have Professor Benoit, who is conducting the masterclass today. For those of you who may have watched the recording from the last masterclass where Professor Benoit talked about use of AI in the company consultancy projects, you will know that his masterclasses are very engaging and a lot of fun. So today as well, we have a wonderful topic. But before we dive into that, quick introductions from my side. My name is Vatsal, and I manage the recruitment and admissions for the MBA program at ESCP's London campus. So some of you may have interacted with me. Uh, and then, of course, we have Professor Benoit here. He is the Associate Dean of the MBA program and also a professor in the marketing department as well. And Professor Benoit teaches brand management, design management, and consumer behavior. Um, Professor Benoit, thank you again for your time and welcome for today's masterclass. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Vatsan, and thank you to you for being available. So the objective of this session is to share with you a few insights about what we can call the glorification of innovation in today's society. So I want to be sure that you can see my screen. Is it okay? Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the topic, as you know, is does innovation is about liberation or it's just about amusing ourselves? And I will give you my point of view on this critical question. So first, I try to summarize all the major innovations made on Earth since man exists, and to summarize that in a frame of 1 year. So you see that there are significant tools that really change the life of millions or billions of people, such as the stone, the wheels, clothing, okay, agriculture, pottery. But what is interesting on this slide is that most of the innovation we are talking about concerning what is called modern life only appears in the last seconds of the year. So, which means that there is an acceleration of innovation, which is a characteristic of what we call modernity. And you see that internet would appear at 10 p.m. the last day, smartphone at 2 p.m. the last day, and social networks at 11 p.m. So we see this process of acceleration. So the starting point is that innovation is a kind of clergy, which has a kind of religious, religious dimension in the sense that it promises salvation, as you can see with those cathedral of consumption. So this is the famous Apple store in Chicago in front of the Wrigley building. And you see, so the constant sacralization of innovation, which is linked to specific rituals and liturgies. So there is really a religious dimension of this appeal for innovation, which is something that mostly we take for granted. And this is part of my research work is to demonstrate that at some point brands and also the discourse about innovation at some point have replaced religions. So that's why I talk about the religious dimension of innovation. And I happened to be in New York City when Steve Jobs died. And I attended a kind of ceremony at the Apple Store on the Fifth Avenue. And I was very surprised to see thousands, no, not thousands, but hundreds of people coming to bring a candle in the shape of an apple, okay, as if a god was dead. So this is the religious dimension, the fact that we are waiting for something that is going to happen, exactly like in transcendent religions. So it means that innovation is more about faith than evidence. And what is important to understand is that there is a technological bluff about innovation in the sense that the power of innovation is more symbolic than purely technical. And we'll see that's one of the problems with AI. We promise a lot of things, but most of the time we do not see the results. And in fact, innovation is something considered sacred, which in fact is almost untouchable. So that's something iconic, something sacred, something that transcends us, and that, of course, is part of a game of manipulation I would like to talk about. So first, uh, I would say that I don't know if you read this very interesting paper by the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, that you can find because it was published in most national newspapers. Uh, so this text was published, as you can see, on the 13th of October, 25. And he says in this text that the existence of hunger is a political choice, in the sense that if we decide that today we leave people die from hunger, it's because we have decided it at a political level. And so he says basically that it's possible for states to act to end hunger. And so when I say innovation is a political choice, I mean that this is our decision, our collective decision to leave innovation such an important place in our mind and in our society. And so, first, what is important maybe is to clarify what we mean by innovation. And of course, the first thing is to be able to distinguish innovation and novelty, which are most of the time confused. Novelty refers to something which is fresh and new, which is so novelty means something that is perceived as new by consumers. But something that is perceived as new is not necessarily an innovation. Novelty is usually short-lived and is trying to grab attention. So, which means that what is new is not necessarily innovative, useful, or valuable. So, those are examples of novelty in packaging. You see, this chair is new, but it is not innovative and it's not useful. It's totally useless. The same for this black burger. This is just grabbing attention. And of course, this very interesting American brand, okay, which is playing with a taboo, and this brand, Liquid Death. This is also a very interesting move in terms of communication, where you McDonald's reinterpret the Big Mac in a library environment. So building the Big Mac with books. So this is new, but this is not innovative. The same here in another cultural environment. So now let's come to innovation. Innovation is, so here is to remind you that you have a lot of useless things which are considered to be innovative. But in fact, they are useless innovation in the sense that they are not bringing any improvement of process. So novelty is not about elevation. So what is innovation? Innovation implies an improvement of a process. So you change something. So that's not just being fresh, that's about transforming something. And basically, we can find three major types of innovations. The first type, which is obvious for us, is about technological innovation based on a kind of scientific or engineering progress. So this is a typical example of a brand developing a rhetoric of technological innovation in different categories: vacuum cleaners, washing machines, hairdryer. This is the same for the Apple glasses. That's typical of the technological innovation. Then we find cultural innovations, which are based on the capacity to change the values, the norms, or the lifestyles in a given culture. And this is the role of brands, usually to provide cultural innovation, because the role of brand is to disrupt social conventions and cultural conventions and to propose a new utopia, a new type of life, a new type of representation. There are many examples. I chose one, which is the Swatch brand, as you know, which was invented in the 80s and which totally disrupted our perception of time. So, of course, Swatch is based on a technological innovation because you have a simplification of the mechanism of the watch. You have just 98 pieces instead of 200. But the most interesting element is in terms of positioning, it's a new representation of time. Time is what you make of it, which means the discourse is to say there is not just one single universal time, there is your own time, the time that you live at your personal level. Another example of a cultural innovation would be a Unilever brand like Persil, breaking the usual belief that dirt is bad, okay, which is the discourse of the leader Tide. And basically, by showing that if kids don't get dirt at the end of the day, it means that they have not enjoyed their day. And so that's a glorification of dirtiness. So this is a cultural innovation because here we are not talking about the product, we are not talking about molecules. And so the third type of innovation is social innovation, which is based on the capacity to meet social needs more effectively than existing solutions. So it's another way to change society by providing a new vision, such as this example of Kiss Kiss Bank Bank, where you are raising the crowdfunding as a new way to raise funds to help entrepreneurs. That's a typical French social innovation. Okay, the Café Joyeux, whose characteristic is to only work with people with a handicap. So this would be categorized as social innovation as well as here, okay, where you are trying to give more voice to citizens in democracy. So the world of politics is also fueled by innovation, which are political innovations. So this is to remind that innovation is not purely technological because it can be also cultural and political. And in a business school like SCP, for us, it's very important to always think using the lenses of culture and politics, not just making business. And here comes an important author who was Lewis Mumford, who wrote a book who was published, I think, in something like 1957, which is called Techniques and Civilization. And what it shows in this book is that there is a political dimension beyond innovation. There is no neutrality in innovation because innovation derives from institutions that can be states, corporations, or platforms, and each has its own interest. And so, what is interesting in the book is that Mumford distinguishes two types of techniques. The first one are authoritarian techniques, which means they are centralized, controlling, and hierarchical. And they are opposed to democratic techniques, which are decentralized, empowering, and distributed. And if we apply this dichotomy to today's technology, especially to AI, we can easily observe that most of the digital innovations are leaning towards authoritarian techniques because they centralize power in infrastructures that individuals cannot escape. So that's why there is a political issue in technique and innovation. And this is what we can see with the platform economy, because if you look at an example like Shein, the Chinese brand, because in this example, we observe that we purely comply to algorithms, design choices that we don't really choose, and that the system is very opaque. And this is the systems that shape our reality. So what I'm saying here is that innovation might amuses us, but amusement is something that prevents any kind of political resistance. So it's need to a kind of depolitization of affects and choices. And here comes another issue, which is the difference that I think is necessary to observe between what we call progress and what we call innovation. Here is just the timeline of all the Gillette razors over time since King Gillette invented the market, in 1900, with the first shaver, because before that, men had to go to the barber shop, so it was more expensive. So it's a kind of empowerment to create the shaver. And you see the gradual evolution of the models up to the creation of the Max 3 in 1998, which was the first razor with three blades, and then the complexification of the product. And so the question is, here, are we facing progress or are we facing innovation? And the thing is that most philosophers and sociologists have observed that we do no longer believe in progress because our discourse is full of utopias and dystopias, but we never talk about progress. And in fact, the word progress has been replaced by the word innovation in social discourse. And if we try to understand why, we see that there's a difference in the sense that progress is about a desirable and credible future. And it's about something that is imagined as collective and something that you can reach. And whereas innovation is not linked to any kind of deliberation. So innovation is something that is constantly imposed to us. And in fact, this might be linked to the fact that today we see future as something threatening. So it's not linked to hope. And we can observe that most of us are reluctant to sacrifice our comfort and our present for a hypothetical collective tomorrow. So we do no longer project ourselves in the future. So the main idea here is that the fact innovation has replaced progress in the discourse is linked to the fact that there is no deliberation linked to innovation. And so it's important to keep in mind the opposition between progress, which is dialogical, which is collective by essence, to innovation, which is more prescriptive and appears as something that is always imposed to us. So there is no real discussion about innovation. And that's, I think, one of the major problems of artificial intelligence. We take it for granted as something normal. Uh, AI is something that has been institutionalized. So, for example, in all business schools, we have agreements with OpenAI and other competitors. Participants from different programs, they must go through certificates on AI. So it means that it has become an institution without being discussed about the added value of artificial intelligence. Of course, I am not here denying the power of AI. I know it has a strong added value. What I'm just discussing is the need for a collective deliberation about the limits and the frontiers that we should put to the development of AI. So basically, there is a dominant cultural narrative, which is about the idea that we should innovate to survive regarding climate crisis, energy crisis, health crisis, which is linked to the spirit of neoliberalism, which is basically neoliberalism is about the idea that we should always adapt ourselves. But in fact, innovation, most of the time, is not about adapting ourselves. It's about maintaining a kind of status quo because it stimulates a kind of movement, but never transforms structures. And if you want to change things, at some points, you need to reach the structures. So it means that most of the time, innovation is not linked to a societal project or a long-term vision or a desired future. And so what I ask here or what I discuss is the fact that innovation should serve an ambitious collective project like progress and not just extend our capacity to cope with uncertainty. And so that's why we should bring into innovation the benefits of progress, which means having a purpose, having a direction, and being connected to a deliberation. Because if not, we are binding ourselves to a future from which we cannot choose or escape. So to summarize, innovation is about what can we do next, whereas progress is more what is worthwhile doing. Innovation expands the how, whereas progress clarifies the why. And this is a major difference. And I think this is possible to reconcile the idea of progress and the idea of innovation. So I will skip that because we don't have time. I'm already 24 minutes. So what is the danger? The danger by of glorifying innovation is to lead to a kind of mental abdication. Because, in fact, modern management usually have a discourse on innovation which confuse prediction and progress, automation and intelligence, and movement and meaning. So, what is important is to break this kind of fascination for technology and to restore a social debate and political debate, and to give people the ways to judge those technical systems which are constantly self accelerating and self justifying And this is also linked to the fact that while the system accelerates, it seems that humans slowly withdraw from thinking. And that is, I think, something critical. That's why we in ESCP, we are really into what we call critical thinking, which means first fighting against any kind of bullshit, really talking about skills and thinking. And it's also about the idea of a political resistance to a kind of cultural stream that surrounds us and dominates us. So uh, basically, sorry. So if we talk about liberation, what does it mean, liberation? It doesn't mean speed or convenience or optimization or the fact of being frictionless. And this is the way things are turning. If we look at the platform economy where consumers are governed by algorithm, so liberation means the expansion of possibilities, which means the ability to imagine forms of life that were previously not accessible. So it means that, of course, innovation and technologies might liberate us only if they expand our autonomy, if they foster community, and if they allow individuals to shape their environment rather than being shaped by it. And that's the major thing, is to give autonomy to individuals. And I think that this is one of the key principles of education, is to provide people with what we call the principle of individuation, by which you are able to think by yourself and to shape your environment rather than being shaped by your environment. So, to summarize and to conclude, what does a liberating innovation would look like? So, first, it would enhance agency and not dependency, which means developing skills, craft, judgment, autonomy. So that's the philosophical dimension of the fight. Second, it should be transparent and intelligible. So we should all be able to understand how the system works. The third characteristic would be to redistribute power instead of concentrating power, which means the development of open source, community controlled infrastructures, and most of it is democratic oversight. The fourth characteristic is to prioritize what we call the capabilities over consumption. So what we are able to do ourselves. So which means developing the skills of people. And the last thing, of course, which is the most important, is to consider humans as ends, not just as behavioral resources, which means that we should escape any attempt to extract attention, manipulate, or give hidden incentives. And this is, I think, the way we could view and build together a liberating innovation. Thank you very much. So I will stop here. If you have any question, I don't want to be too long and boring. So that was just to share with you some insights and some beliefs and convictions about innovation. But that's, as you can understand, a way to show you the way we think at ESCB. So thank you so much. I will just stop the sharing on my screen.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Professor Benoit. That was very liberating, if I must
Yes,
say,
I hope so. I hope so.
session.
I hope so.
Lovely. Thank you. So, for the audience, if you have any questions
Yeah.
for Professor Benoit here with regards to the master class, or if you have any questions about the MBA program at
Yes.
ESCP,
Yeah.
structure or admissions, please feel free to send us your questions via the Q&A function, and we will be happy to answer them. So the floor is yours. Please feel free to send in your
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. First question is always very hard.
Yes.
maybe maybe everybody agrees with what I said, so there are no issues.
Uh, yes, that definitely
Kidding, it's a joke because the objective is
lovely.
not to be provocative. It's just to help us see innovation the way it is, not the way it's portrayed.
Mm, absolutely. Right. Maybe if there are no immediate questions, then I'm happy to share a little bit about the admission process and even the
Good,
structure
good,
of the
good,
MBA. I'm
good.
happy to do that. Just um, let me share my screen. Right. So, of course, I suppose you all can see my screen there. I will not
Yeah, yeah.
take you through the full presentation, but happy to just share a little bit more about how the MBA is structured. And I guess one of the ways in which we do encourage the liberal thinking and the kind of sort of give you a platform to basically increase possibilities and imagine various possibilities is through our multi-campus European structure. So the MBA program, it begins in Paris in September. Before that, you have an online onboarding session from July to September. But the period one is in person in Paris. Ideally, there is an element available online, but I will not talk about that. But let's just focus on the in-person element here. So September to January is your period one in Paris, where you study a certain number of core modules, and you also do your first company consultancy project, which is on sustainability. And of course, Professor Benoit is also heading the company consultancy projects there. Then February to May is your period two. This is wherein you move around. You have a choice between Berlin and London. So you can choose depending on your preference. The modules taught in both the locations are the same, but it is a matter of personal preference whether you want to study and experience life in London or in Berlin. Then period three is from May to June, and that is your specialization period, wherein your destination or your location is determined by your specialization choice. So we have four options to choose. You choose only one. There is consulting and entrepreneurship, which are available in the Madrid campus, and then there is fintech and innovation and luxury, which are available in the Torino campus. So if you opt for any of those two, or any of one of those four, that will decide on your location. That is also where you do your second company consultancy project as well. And then July to September is your thesis period, and that's after that the MBA is done. It's quick, but it is intense, and it happens quickly. You will learn a lot, you will experience a lot in those 12 months. But yeah, so and throughout your time at ESCP, you will have different seminars and sessions, and you will have elements with the careers team as well. Again, the iLeap seminar, you will have Myers-Briggs workshops, etc., and also interactions with alumni as well. Um, just I'm going to skip through the core modules, just give you a brief again on the specialization options. Like I mentioned, consulting and entrepreneurship are taught in Madrid, and then luxury and then fintech and innovation are taught in Torino as well. If you require more information, please feel free to send us an email or ask your questions right now. Um, just moving on quickly onto the admissions bit. Uh, The reason why I would emphasize on the admissions is because just in 2 weeks from now, we have our next deadline, which is on the 29th of January. So exactly two Thursdays from now. And that deadline is the final deadline for you to benefit from the fall offer discount that we're offering, which is worth 7,000 euros. So that can be awarded to you if you apply by that deadline and then accept your offer by the said deadline on the admission letter as well. While sort of I've mentioned that, again, please contact your respective admission and recruitment officers from the MBA team in the respective campuses, and they will be able to guide you on the process. We do have more questions coming in though, and I will now sort of pause on the admission side. And this is a question for Professor Benoit here.
Yes.
Uh,
So
the first one.
the first question from Russia, that's it.
Yes.
So in fact, we um, so there are two dimensions in your question. The fact that in the program we still work on entrepreneurial projects through the CCP projects and through different case studies, and we have also a module on entrepreneurship and innovation. And also, we help entrepreneurs to gain competence and knowledge, okay, to go into more leadership roles. So that's why we have different courses which will help you for that. So that is, I think, quite clear. Now, for the question of Arlen, I must say that honestly, I don't believe in the power of the individual level, because I think that when we talk about all those issues, innovation or consumption, we are surrounded by structures. And so the only way is to act collectively. That's why I wanted to insist on the difference between progress and innovation, because progress is collective and not innovation. Innovation is imposed to us as individuals, whereas progress is what we decide collectively. So that's why there must be some kind of deliberation. And
Well,
now for Darren,
yes.
many thanks for your questions. So of course we look at the profile, we look at the essays, but what is important for us is to understand what is the meaning of the program in your trajectory. So it's to understand your trajectory. We have no a priori regarding your background, what you did before. This is not that important because we are choosing individuals, not profiles. And what is important is why you want to do MBA, why you want to come to ESCP, and why you want to do the MBA in ESCP, because it's a specific school where we still believe in humanism, critical thinking. So as you can see, I'm very much I'm close to philosophers because I was also trained in philosophy, and this is I'm not, of course, a characteristic of all professors here, but it's just to show you a style of discourse that you can find at USCP. Of course, you have more managerial discourse as in everywhere else, but what is important is basically, what is your desire? Why do you want to come? This is the only important question for me. Okay. And it's not just because I understand that when you invest time and money in an MBA program, it's because you want to increase your salary, you want to boost your career. That I know perfectly. But also, what is important is to have a global meaning to your life. Since I don't know, maybe you have a family, you have kids, you have to shift countries, you have to travel. So that's a global decision. And for me, a good choice is a choice which is not purely transactional or opportunistic. It's a holistic decision with different criterion on your side. Okay, and if we see that you have understood this holistic decision, usually we make the deal. I don't want to talk like Donald Trump. Let's make a deal, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Lovely, thank you. And just to add to the Rain's question here, and just getting a bit specific on the admission side. So there are three sort of main areas that we look at. One is your MBA application form, within which your MBA essays are the backbone of it. Then, of course, you have the GMAT or a test score, GMAT, GRE, or our internal test. And then the last bit that Professor Benoit talked about, where we actually understand a lot more about you as an individual, and that is the interview. And that is perhaps the most important step of the admissions process. Because the interview will essentially, decide whether you're a good fit for ESCP and whether ESCP is a good fit for you. So it's not about, a personal testament to you. There can be times where someone can be an excellent candidate in terms of other bits, but with ESCP, with our mindset, our approach, it may not match. So there could be elements there, but and hence we look at individuals like Professor Benoit said, and not profiles.
Mhm.
So looking at the humane aspect of things and understanding your motivations to do an MBA, why at ESCP, and then of course why the MBA at ESCP.
Mhm. Mhm.
So great, thank you, Dhiren, for that question. Another question coming in from Roshan: How important is the GMAT in your MBA admissions compared to professional experience and overall profile? Um, I'll answer that first, and then Professor Benoit, maybe you can add on here. GMAT is definitely a requirement. Having a standard GMAT score is a requirement. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can have a very poor score. Having a decent average, above average score is fine. But does a good GMAT score guarantee admission? No. Because, like again, Professor Benoit said, and it's an excellent point, we look at individuals and not the profile. So you could have an excellent GMAT score, but if your MBA essays in the application form are not on point, or if in the interview we see that there's not enough motivation or research or other elements, then that GMAT score is not good, not enough to carry forward your admission. Professor Benoit, would you like to add anything there?
No, I think it's clear. The MBA, sorry, the GMAT is just to be sure that you can write in English and present in English and read an article in English. But usually there are no issues. And once again, if we would just consider the GMAT, we would just profile you, which is not what we do because that's a global project. So that's just one part of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for your question,
Yes,
Roshan, as well.
yes, yes.
Right. Any other questions? We will give it maybe a couple of more minutes if students are still
Yes, of
typing.
course. Yes, of course.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, just wanted to confirm, Roshan just has a follow-up. If whether a GMAT or GRE score is a strict requirement for the MBA course. Yes, having a GMAT or a GRE score is a mandatory requirement. If not, you can take our internal test. Your admissions contact will be able to explain more on that regard. But yes, there are no exemptions available from the GMAT or the GRE score. Yeah. Right. Okay, I guess there are no more questions. So then in that case, this brings us to an end for today's session.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. We do have a question coming in from Dhiren, and again, more on the admissions side. So Dhiren asks that he initiated a program locally for environmental causes in his society. Can this
Yes,
and
of
similar
course.
aspects be added
Yes.
in his essays, Professor?
Yes, of course, this is exactly what the kind of thing we are looking for. Okay, things which are rooted in a project, pragmatic, and with an ambition and a will to transform society, to impact society in a positive way. So it's very welcome.
Lovely, thank you. So Dhiren, you have your answer there. Absolutely include these kind of elements. And well, thank you, Isabel, as well.
Yes.
Thank you. All right then. Well,
Thank you. And thank you, Vatsala. Thank you.
thank you, Professor Benoit. Again,
Thank
thank
you.
you everyone for joining in for today's session. Hope you all are leaving with some food for thought. And Professor Benoit, thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.